Welcome back to the Institute. So, we have dealt with episode 1 and episode 2. This is episode 3. In this episode, we are going to tackle statistics and probability problems. Okay, so the first question is a statistics problem, right? And it says that if the mean and standard deviation of the numbers x, 2.5, 4, y, and 7 are 4 and square root of 31/10 respectively, then we should find the values of x and y, where x is less than y. Okay, so with this problem, once you have a problem like this, you have to analyze the problem well, interpret it, and know what the question is demanding for. First of all, the question gave you some values. That is a data set. Let's say a population that contains a values of x, 2.5, 4, y, and 7. And this data set has a mean, right? And the mean is 4, and it has a standard deviation of square root of what? 31/10. So if you want, that if you want to find mean, then you have to add all the items in the data set, right? So, you're going to find the mean. So mean of the data set will be equal to x plus 2.5 plus 4 plus y plus 7, right? Divided by the total number of items in the population, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So we have over 5. So this is what we have. Now, we have been given the value of the mean, right? They computed the mean and they gave it to us as what? 4, right? So that's the mean is what? Mean of the function is what? 4, right? So we are going to put 4 here, then we cross multiply. So we're going to have 4 equals x plus 2.5 plus 4 plus y plus 7 divided by 5. Okay, so this will help us to get a relation between x and y. A relation between x and y. Okay, so we're going to say that this is over 1, right? So we have 4 times 5, and that is equal to x plus y plus 2.5 plus 7 plus 4 is 13.5, right? So this is what we have. Now, we need a relation between x and y. So we say that x plus y should be equal to 4 times 5 is 20 minus 13.5, right? So 13.5. So we have x plus y to be equal to 6.5. So we either make y the subject or we make x the subject. So this place is your preference, right? So I prefer that we make y the subject, right? So we are going to say that y in terms of what? X. So y should be equal to 6.5 minus x, right? So we call this equation 1. Okay, we call this equation 1. So now we have equation 1. What can we do to get equation 2 so that we solve it simultaneously? Now, the question also says that this data set, its standard deviation is square root of 10, square root of 31/10. So if you have a standard deviation, right, and you want to get the variance, then what you do is that you take square, right? You square the standard deviation to get the variance. Okay, so square the standard deviation square the standard deviation to get the variance. All right, so in here we are interpreting it as population variance, okay? We are interpreting it as population variance. So we say that variance, population variance will be equal to the standard deviation was given as square root of 31 over 10. So if you square it, you're going to have 31 over what? 10, because this will take off this, right? So we have as variance to be 31 over 10, and that is equal to 3.1, right? So once we have the variance, then remember that if you want to find your variance, then variance is equal to 1 over the n, which is the number of data sets in the population. So times summation of xi minus the mean, all squared. So this is how you find variance or population variance. Now, xi here means that the xi represents each of the values in the data set. So xi can be s1, which represent the first value. x2 will be the second value, which is 2.5. s3 will be 4. x4 will be y, and s5 will be 7. Right? So that is the xi. So in all, we call it xi. Now, once we know that information, the mu here, which is the mean, was given as 4, right? So our mu is 4. So what we do is that we take each value minus the mean, all squared. We do that to all the values, then we divide by the number of data sets in the population, right? So we're going to say that our variance, which is 3.1, will be equal to first data set is x, so x minus the mean, which is 4, all squared, plus the second data set is what? 2.5 minus the mean, which is 4, all squared, plus the third data set is 4. 4 minus 4 is 0. So 4 minus 4 all squared, plus the fourth data set, which is y. So we have y minus 4 all squared, plus the last data set, which is 7. So 7 minus 4 all squared. Good. So once we are done with that, remember your n. Your n is the number of data sets in the population, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we divide all this by 5. This is very interesting, right? Very, very interesting. So we're going to have 3.1 equals x minus 4 all squared, plus 2.5 minus 4 is negative 1.5. So we have negative 1.5 all squared, plus 4 minus 4 is 0. So we have 0 squared, plus y minus 4 all squared, plus 7 minus 4 is 3, right? So we have 3 squared. All this divided by 5. Right. So this is what we have. We have to still simplify it. And remember, in equation 1, we said that y should be equal to what? 6.5 minus x. So wherever we see y, we can substitute. Okay, so we cross multiply, then we have 3.1 times 5 equals x minus 4 all squared plus negative 1.5 squared is 2.25. So we have 2.25 plus 0 squared is 0, right? Plus y minus 4. Now, our y is 6.5 minus x. So we have 6.5 minus x minus what? 4 all squared, right? Then plus 3 squared, which is 9. So we have plus 9. This is beautiful, right? So now that we have been able to do this, let's try to simplify that. So 3.1 times 5 is 15.5. And that is equal to x minus 4 all squared plus 2.25 plus 6.5 minus 4 minus x all squared, right? Plus 9. Great. So at this point, we just have to do this simplification. Then we'll have an equation to solve. So we're going to have 15.5 equals x squared minus 8x plus 16 plus 2.25 plus 6.5 minus 4 is 2.25, right? So we have 2.25, 2.5, right? That is 2.5. 6.5 minus 4. 6.5 minus 4. That is 2.5, right? So we have 2.5, right? 2.5 minus x all squared plus our 9. Okay, so now we still have to simplify the expression. So we're going to have 15.5 equals x squared minus 8x plus 16 plus 16 plus 2.25 16 plus 2.25 plus 9. That is 27.25 plus 27.25, right? Then we expand this as well, plus 2.5 minus x all squared, right? Now we have 15.5 equals x squared minus 8x plus 27.25 plus 2.5 squared, right? 2.5 squared is 6.25. So we have 6.25 minus 2.5 times 2 times x, right? 2.5 times 2 times x, that is 5. So we have 5x, right? Then we will square the last number, which is x squared, right? So we have plus x squared here. Okay, that's it. So now what you are going to do is add all the numbers and then add the x squareds, right? So don't forget that y is equal to what? 6.5 minus x, because we will use it again. So we have 15.5 equals x squared plus x squared is 2x squared. So we have 2x squared. Then minus 8x minus 15 minus 8x minus 5x becomes minus 13x, right? So we have minus 13x. Then 27.25 plus 6.25 will give us 33.5. Will give us plus 33.5 here, right? So we're going to have 2x squared minus 13x plus 33.5 minus 15.5. Right, so we subtract that, and then we have 18, right? So we have 2x squared minus 13x plus 18 equals 0. Okay, that is becoming interesting, right? So we're going to solve this quadratically, then we will have the value of x. Okay, that is beautiful, right? So we come up here, then we say that 2x squared minus 13x plus 18 equals what? 0. So you know what to do. You multiply this and this, then you know the value, then you find the numbers, the factors of those numbers. That when you multiply, you get this, and when you add, you get this, right? So the numbers are 9 over 2 and 2, right? 9 over 2 and 2. So that is going to be our two numbers. So we have 9x minus 2 and x minus 2 equals 0. Those are the factors, right? So we're going to say that we're going to say that 2x minus 9 equals 0, and that's x is equal to 9 over 2. So this means that x is what? 4.5. Or x minus 2 equals 0. That implies that x is what? 2. All right. So we have gotten the value of what? X, and we have gotten the values of x, right? So the two values of x are 2 and 4.5 respectively. Now, the question says that we should find the values of x and y. So we left it that of y. But in equation 1, we know that y is equal to 6.5 minus x, right? So wherever we see x here, we substitute this, and then we come back and substitute this to have the other value. So when x is 4.5, you have y to be equal to 6.5 minus 4.5, and that is what? 2. And then when x is 2, you have y to be 6.5 minus what? 2, and that is 4.5. But recall that the question says that x is less than y. So it means that we have to choose the smallest value for x and choose the biggest value for y. So from here, we're going to say that from the question, the condition is that x is less than y. Therefore, we say that x is equal to the smallest value, which is 2, and y is the biggest value, which is what? 4.5. This question is so interesting, right? Very, very interesting. So what you have to know is that if you have a problem like this, where you have a data set and they have given you the mean and the standard deviation, recall the mean formula. You know that if you want to find the mean of a particular data set or of a particular population, you add all the values in the population or in the data set, divide by the number of data sets, divide by the number of what? Values in the data set. Then you know the mean. But in this case, we were given the value for what? They computed the value for what? The mean. And that was what? 4. So you write the formula for the mean, but they have given you the value for the mean. So you compute everything, then you have a relation between x and y. So you either it's your choice to either make Y the subject or make X the subject. Once you get that, record that you have been given the value for the standard deviation, right? And record that if you have standard deviation and you want to get population variance, or you want to get a variance, then you have to square the standard deviation. And so when you square the standard deviation, you know that if you want to find the variance or the population variance, it is summation of xi minus what? The mean all squared divided by the total number of what? Items in the population. Then you get your what? Population variance. Okay, so that is what we did to find the values of what? X and Y respectively. Now, I want to give you some short time to go through this problem. I'll be back with question number 2. All right, welcome back from the short break. I believe that we have been able to go through that particular problem and you are good with it. So interesting. This is a probability problem, right? The question 2 is a probability problem, of which it says that an association is made up of 10 journalists, right? And 9 engineers. Okay, so if a committee of 4 members is to be formed from the association, then we want to find the probability that it will consist. It here means the association, right? So the probability that the association will consist of A, at least 2 engineers, B, 75% of journalists, and C, odd number of engineers. Okay, so first of all, if you have a probability problem, read the question, scan it, and interpret the question very, very, very well, and know what the question is demanding for. So in here, when you analyze the question very well, you realize that the question is interested in the probability of those individuals, right? But before you get the probability, it means you have to get the numbers. All right. So for us to get the numbers, first of all, we have to find the total people in the association. We have to find the total people in the association. And to do that, they give us 10 journalists and 9 engineers, right? So the total people in the association will be what? 10 plus 9, right? So the total people in the association, solution, total people will be 10 plus 9, and that is what? 19. So that is the total people in the association. Now, we have to get the total ways that we can pick a committee of 4. Okay, we have to get the total ways that we can pick a committee of 4 from this association, right? And so what we have to do is that we have to say that 19 combination what? 4. The total people in the association combination 4. Because in here, is it order does not matter, right? So order does not matter. So we use combination because either journalists come first or engineers come first. We don't care about that. So we use combination. But if they say that order matters, then use what? Permutation. Right? So in here, we're going to say that the total ways to pick a committee of 4 members from the association will be total ways of picking a committee members of 4 from the association will be 19 combination 4, right? And that is the same as 19 and 4. So this, we can compute it as 19 times 18 times 17 times 16, right? Times 16 divided by 4 factorial. Okay, and this will give us, when you compute this very well, you're going to get 3876, right? So you have 3876. So this is the number of people, or this is the number of ways, the total number of ways you can pick a committee of 4 members from the association of what? 9 people. I believe you are good with it. Don't confuse it. If you have the problem and the question does not demand that order matters, then you use combination. But if order matters, then you have to use what? Permutation, right? So that is for the preface before we can start solving the question. You have to get these steps before you can start the process, right? So once we have the total ways that we can pick a committee of 4 members from the association of 19 people, then we can go ahead and find the first question, which is at least 2 engineers, probability of that. So A, probability that a committee has at least 2 engineers, will be, it basically means that you have to get at least 2 engineers. So remember, at least, if something is at least, it means it's either equal to or more, right? So equal to or greater than. So we are going to have, that means we need a committee that has either 2 people, either 3 people, or 4 people, right? So we need 2 people, or 3, or 4, right? So now this is what we have. So we are going to find exactly 3 people, exactly 2 people, exactly 3 people, and exactly 4 people from this. Okay, so we begin with exactly 2 people. Exactly 2 people. So exactly 2 people means that we are going to have 9 combination 2, then 10 combination what? 2, because we are interested in what? The engineers. The engineers is what? 9. So it's 9 combination 2 times 10 combination 2. Always make sure that the numbers you have here should sum up to the committee number, right? So if the next time you go to exactly 3, that means that if here times 3, here will become what? 1. So this will be equal to 9 combination 2 is basically 36, right? Times 10 combination 2 is 45, right? So you're going to have 1620. So you have gotten exactly 2 people, right? So the next thing we have to find is what? Exactly 3. So exactly 3 people, we are going to have 9 combination 3 and then 10 combination what? 1. So that will be equal to 9 combination 3 is basically 84, right? So we have 84 times 10 combination 1 is 10 combination 1 is 10, right? So 84 times 10, which is what? 840. 840. So exactly 3 people, we had 840. It left with the last one, exactly 4, right? So we're going to find exactly 4. Then we sum all to have at least 2 people. So exactly 4, exactly 4, 4 people, you're going to have 9 combination 4, 10 combination what? 0. So that will be equal to 9 combination 4 is basically 126, right? 9 combination 4 is basically 126. So we have 126 times 10 combination 0 is 1. So that will be equal to 126. So now we have been able to find exactly what? 4 people. Okay. So once we have exactly 2 people, exactly 3 people, and exactly 4 people, then it means that we can get what? At least 2 engineers from the association. So from here, probability of at least 2 people, of at least 2 engineers will be equal to, we sum this, so 1620 plus 840 plus 126, and that will give us 2586. 2586. So we have gotten the number of people that will be what? At least 2 engineers, right? At least 2 engineers from the association. And the number is what? 2,586. 2,586. Those that will take at least 2 engineers. If you are to take at least 2 engineers from the association of 3876 ways, then we are going to have 2,586. Now we need the probability of this, right? So probability of that, probability of that, probability of that 2 engineers will be equal to 2586 2586 divided by 3876, right? And this will give us 0.6672, right? So this is the probability that at least 2 engineers will be taken from the association, right? So we are done with the A part of the problem. 0.6672. Now the B part says that we should find probability of what? 75% journalist. We should find the probability of what? The probability that at least, probability that the association will consist of what? 75% journalists. Once you hear this percentage, you have to know that only 25% will go for engineers, because you are taking percentage wise is 100%, right? And you are taking 75%, then it means that only 25% will go for engineers. So in a committee of 4, it means that 3 of them are for journalists and 1 is for engineers. Okay, so the B part of the question, probability of what? 75% journalists. So it means that we have to first find the committee, right? We have to first find exactly 3 journalists and 1 engineer. Then we can go ahead and find a probability. So we have to find exactly 3 journalists and 1 engineer, right? This question is very clear. 75% journalists. It means that if you're having a committee of 4 people and you are taking 75%, that means that 3 people will be what? Journalists, and then the rest, the 1 will be what? Engineers. And so number of ways will be 10 combination 3 times 9 combination what? 1, and that will be equal to 120 times 9, which is equal to 120 times 9 is 1080. 1080. Okay, so once we have been able to find this, the rest is what? Just to divide this by the probability, the total number of ways that we got from the association. So probability of 75% journalists will be equal to 1080 divided by 3876, and that will be equal to 0.2788. 0.2788. So that is the probability of what? The association consisting of what? 75% what? Journalists. 0.2788. Very simple. Now, the C part says that we should find the odd number of what? Engineers. That will be that are coming from the association. We need the probability that the association consists of what? Odd number of what? Engineers. So if you hear this, you have a committee of 4 and they are saying that odd number of what? Engineers. So it means that if you have the numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4, and they are talking about odd numbers, that means that you have to count 2 out, you have to count 4 out. So the only numbers left are 1 and 3. Okay, so it means that we have to find 1 and 3, right? We have to find exactly 1 and exactly 1 engineer and 1 exactly 3 engineer. Then we sum it to know the number of ways that odd number of engineers are in the association. So so we come up here, the C part, we say that the C part, we have to find exactly 1 engineer, So exactly 1 engineer means that 9 combination 1, right? Because the engineers are 9. And then 10 journalists. So we have 10 engineers, right? We need exactly 3 engineers. So once we find exactly 3 engineers, we sum them to find what? The number of ways that engineers will be odd numbers in the association. So we go up here we go up here, then we find exactly 3 engineers. Exactly 3 engineers, right? So exactly 3 engineers, we're going to have 9 combination 3 times 10 combination what? 1, right? And 9 combination 3 is basically the same, right? It's the same as this yeah, we've erased it. That's 840. This, when you multiply this, you get what? 840, right? So we have this, we have that. So we sum them to have what? The number of ways that we have odd number of engineers in the association. So number of ways will be 1080 plus 840, and that will be equal to 1080 plus 840 is 1920, right? So once we have this, then we divide by the what? The number of ways that we obtain from the association. So that's probability of odd number of what? Engineers. That will be equal to 1920 divided by 3876, and that will give us, that probability is 0.4954. So this is the probability that the association will consist of odd number of what? Engineers. Very, very, very simple question. Very, very simple question. You have to analyze the question very well. If you have a probability problem, just analyze the problem well, then you are good to go. All right, so in this episode, we will end here, then continue in episode 4, where we solve different set of questions. Okay, thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate your time. Please don't forget to subscribe, share with your mates, and I'm going to give you more updates. Bye-bye.